It's Friday, August 18th, and if you're watching this on the Sleepers YouTube channel, you may be thinking to yourself, that's not Riley Davis, in which case you would be correct, but it is still a Briley Friday. We've brought on Brian Rauf from Heat Check, another Heat Check, awesome content maker, writer extraordinaire, everything you want from a college basketball perspective you can get from Brian. I went on their Heat Check Hangout podcast about a week and a half ago now. Had a great time over there, and they're almanacking. Whenever I ask the boys from Heat Check what's going on, they're like, we're almanacking right now. So hardest working man in the business, Brian. It's great to have you on the show in place of Riley Davis.
Thanks for having me on, and I'm glad you guys finally went with the better looking Heat Check member from the Raleigh-Durham area. About time.
Wow, I need Riley to actually know that. And I want to give my biggest Heat Check endorsement right now is the fact that everyone out there knows I'm not a reader. Okay, I'm a roll the ball out there type of guy. One of the things I do read avidly and enjoy are Heat Check articles and Heat Check people. So just let that be known. That is the biggest endorsement out there. So if you're not already tapped in, go tap in. And they make the almanac go, by the way. There's a lot of people that put, dabble in the almanac, but it's really the Heat Check. That's the nightmare fuel. Shout out to T.O.
Yeah, there's no shortage of ball nolly with the Heat Check boys in general. And Brian is one of the best. In case you are curious about it, though, we didn't cut Riley Davis. We didn't just delete him from the roster because of the private school allegations or because he doesn't like Milwaukee, anything like that. Although it is nice to get an inflection of facial hair on the show, which Brian clearly serves up well. Riley has some family stuff going on. That's why he's not here today. And if you've listened to the show in the past, Riley also is about to be a father, so there probably will be more weeks in the coming future where we need to tap into the bullpen. Brian was the first call today, and I would like everyone to know as well, we did offer this up to Tristan Freeman, but Tristan hates us and refuses to come on the show, so I don't know what's going on with that, but Brian was gracious and very excited about the opportunity. So here we are. It's Briley Friday, as I mentioned. As always, we're going to open the show with our 27 comments. Brian has 3 topics that he's brought that we don't know what they are. Very excited for that. And as we've been plugging all week, we have started a Discord, which is where you can support Sleepers Media and all that we do. And we are also exactly 6 episodes away from no longer reading every comment on our YouTube channel. So if you want to have your comments continue to be read in 6 episodes, you need to join the Discord. It's $9.99 a month. The link is in the description, and you'll get access to a lot more unique content, including our college football and NFL newsletters, which will be launched in about a week. Cart, when are we doing that? When's the first newsletter from you going to hit?
The first newsletter, I think we planned on before the 30th. So I guess the 30th or the morning of the 31st.
Okay.
I think that's when the first set of games, or I think there's a couple maybe Maction games, but something to get action on. So I think that's the date.
Brian's written up 47 different team previews for the Almanac, and we're figuring out when we can put out one 5-paragraph newsletter. This is the difference here at Sleepers Media. Let's start with our comments from the Discord, because I want to start doing those first to prioritize them a little bit. We put the episode up yesterday, and the first comment was Carter himself saying Gordon Hayward looks like he bites in that photo. Would you like to elaborate on that?
I mean, you saw the thumbnail. If you go look up Gordon Hayward at Baylor, it looks like he bites people if you're not careful.
Okay. I just wasn't sure if it was like an actual that you're talking he bites or like that's metaphorical that he bites,
No, like I'm literally like I wouldn't turn my back on Butler Gordon Hayward because he might bite you.
Okay, speaking of bites, you asked people for their 5 favorite chips, and then we got some very diverse answers in the Discord. Is there anyone that you would like to call out that stood out to you, Carter, from the chip conversation yesterday?
Not personally in general. I think it should be a wide known fact, though, that the best chip of all time is sour cream and cheddar Ruffles. Like that's the best. See, Ralph knows that's the best chip of all time. If that's not in your top 5,
why you guys are the best.
Yeah, if it's not in your top 5, you need to reevaluate things. If it's not number 1, I do have some questions as well, but I need an explanation.
What's your favorite chip, Brian? Is that your favorite chip?
Yes.
Wow.
Ruffles cheddar sour cream.
Oh, so good.
See,
the only reason people don't like them is because they haven't had them.
It's just the sour cream crushes me. I think I texted Cart this on the 4th of July. I said it should be illegal for sour cream chips to just be out in a public setting without signage, because you can't reach into a bowl thinking it's an original chip and then all of a sudden get hit with a flavor blast of sour cream. That's brutal.
I mean, you can't look at a chip and tell that it's a sour cream and onion chip.
Again, that says more about me than it does about the chips. But oh well, okay. Also, question for you, chip connoisseurs: is a Cheeto a chip? Like, where are we drawing the line at chip?
Yeah,
Cheetos the chip.
Okay, so any like flavored handheld bite-sized snack is a chip, pretty much.
I don't put like Cheez-Its in the chip category. That's like a cracker.
yeah. I would say anything you can get from a counter at like Jersey Mike's or Subway, where it's like you get a sub and chips.
That's
I like
if it's
that.
included on that little wire rack on the side of the store, then it's a chip.
I like that. Okay. There's been much made about my plain white taste lately, Carter. Do you want to guess what my favorite chip is?
Is it literally just plain? No, is it Bugles?
Baked Lays.
Just plain baked Lays.
Baked Lays.
Baked Lays are good though. Baked Lays are significantly better than regular Lays.
Incredible. They go along with everything. They're really, really good. Let's move on. Ulamog, the legend, is in the Discord, and he said, I'm back on my Riley hater train. I haven't seen him in the Discord unless he's using a burner. Riley, if you're one of those pores, let me know. I'll sponsor you. Given the context of Riley not being on the episode today, I feel like we can't go too harsh here, but also, Carter, you are known to say the word poor when people don't want to join the Discord.
Listen, I know for a fact that Riley's a man of many subscriptions, and he doesn't pay attention to his subscriptions. Like he definitely has the family card with his wife that's racking up with subscriptions that they don't care about. And Discord should be added to that very soon, and I expect it to be. But we'll let him rock for another week or two.
We I think, just to give a Discord update, we have 55 members listed, and I believe we're up to 20 actual paid. So that the conversion rate is getting a little better. If we can get all 55 of those paid, we're going to be really rocking. And we have gotten some texts on the side from a few, I would call like actual college basketball minds, like people that play a role in the college basketball world. It would be pretty fun to get those people involved in the community, because I feel like it would be less of us just like making jokes at each other and more like, oh, there's some news breakers here. There's some people who know some ball in this chat.
We're inching up to 50%. My freshman year free throw percentage. I like that.
It's impressive. And final comment I want to read from the Discord today. Keith Johnson is in here. He wanted to talk about our Michigan State discussion with Xavier Booker and Cohen Carr yesterday. He says, Greg's Cohen Carr take is spot on. Cart and the rest of our fan base is way over their skis on Cohen Carr. He's not going to get 20 minutes a night unless he can play elite defense and rebound. The expectation needs to be Pierre Brooks type minutes with some insane highlight reels. Cart, what do you think of that?
That's so disrespectful to Cohen Carr. These Pierre Brooks type minutes? I just think that physically, athletically, he will be able to produce just based off that. So that kind of puts him above the Pierre Brooks kind of mold. And yeah, I've mentioned before, I think that Xavier Booker is not being talked about enough. I mean, we've mentioned that many times, that I don't like how he's kind of put as like this afterthought when he's damn near the prize recruit of the class. I just think it's more so fans trying to temper their expectations with themselves more, like just tell themselves like don't expect anything and see what happens with Xavier Booker. But no, I think that the impact that Cohen Carr can have because of his body type and athleticism will be felt a lot more than Pierre Brooks based on his body type and athleticism. Also, I look forward to adding the phrase way over your skis. That's a new one. I've never heard that.
That's in the regular rotation for me. I'm not going to lie. Also, never forget that Pierre Brooks started about 5 games for Michigan State in the non-conference slate last year. Brian, what do the words Cohen Carr mean to you?
Excitement. Yeah, more or less. I think the buzz about him, obviously the highlights are a big part of it, but Michigan State hasn't had a guy with that kind of explosiveness really since Miles Bridges. And that's an asset right there. He might only get spot minutes, but I think he's going to have bigger impact than I think that comment would suggest. I don't think he's going to be their superstar or their best player. I mean, that might be a great thing if he is, but I would expect him to have a pretty solid contributing role and see a decent amount of minutes.
Yeah, I think bottom line is Michigan State has two guys who are now what I would consider elite lob catchers that they didn't have last year, and that's probably the biggest thing AJ Hoggard kind of needs. He's been throwing lobs to Madi Sissoko, who has bricks for hands, and he's had Joey Hauser as his running mate for 3 years. I mean, we love Joey Hauser on this show, but not exactly a high flyer. Okay, let's move over to the YouTube chat. Thank you to the Discord. As always, some really good discussion over on the Discord. In fact, Cart, we leaked some news in the Discord late last night. People were asking for the news we've been alluding to, and the people on the Discord got a sneak peek of some potential excitement in the sleepers world. So that is another little perk you will get. We'll keep you in the loop on things that are going on behind the scenes with us. Again, join the Discord. We are 6 episodes away from cutting off reading every single YouTube comment every single episode. For now, though, let's go to the YouTube comments. 27 of them today. We'll try to be pretty quick here. Trevor Sally says, will you guys make a prediction sheet of who will win the Big Ten regular season? Rank teams from top to bottom. Whoever's closer to correct at the end of the season gets a steak dinner bought by the other one. I like this idea, but I don't want a steak dinner from Cart.
I'm not a steak guy either.
Yeah, not a red meat guy. I feel like Brian is a big red meat guy, though.
My gut shows it too.
Brian, why do I feel like if I went back like 7 years ago on your Facebook, there's just an upload of just a steak?
No,
I'm not steak. Just a picture, a random Facebook picture of a really good steak you had.
I am not one of those food eat first kind of people. I am not active on Instagram. I have one because my wife made me have one. I am not that guy. You will probably see tweets of me talking about how good a steak was, but I am not one to take pictures of my food.
Understood. I don't hate that idea from Trevor, but I think we need a better reward at the end than just steak dinner. We'll keep thinking on it. T-Will154 says, best podcast out. Another question for the show. Kenny Payne replacements. Out of these 5, who would you hire and why if you are the Louisville AD? Nate Oates, Eric Musselman, Jerome Tang, Dusty May, Chris Collins. Brian, I want to throw to you first. I don't think all 5 of those are realistic targets or realistic gets, but I could see 1 to 2 of them being that. Who would you hire out of those 5?
In an ideal world, I think I'd take Dusty May. Just looking at also kind of the runway left in his career, I think he's got more time left. And from a realistic standpoint, you're going to have to pay a lot to get guys like Nate Oates and Eric Musselman and that caliber of established coach away. Dusty May is going to cost a pretty penny too. I mean, Louisville has money. That should not be an issue, but I think he's more attainable, more likely to leave, and I think could be just as good of a coach as them. I mean, it's been 1 year for him so far, but he's also gone further than either of them have at their current schools. And he's built a roster, and there's continuity there. It's more of a program building than somebody who you expect to come in and try and be a flash in the pan. There is some thought about him holding out for Indiana, but if I'm Louisville and I have a shot at him, I take it.
Cart, what would your answer be quickly on that?
The one thing I will say is I think that for me, it'd be Jerome Tang would be the guy that I would go for. I don't know if he would actually make that move, but I agree with Brian. I just don't think they'll have enough pull to get those big guys there. But the funniest part about this to me is that literally, like those tweets, G, where it's like 0 days without violence or 0 days without since something happened. Since Kenny Payne has taken the job, he's probably gone 6 days maybe without like threat of actually losing his job. Like every day with him since he stepped on campus has been who the next guy is going to be, which is just crazy. Like it's some of it's earned because of what's happening, but I mean, wow, the dude's not getting a chance.
He's not doing much to fight it off. Would just be
no, he's not.
Back, but you're right. If those 5 were actually the 5, I think I would want to hire Muss. That might be crazy to say, but like I feel like Muss every single year is just like they're gonna make Sweet 16s and have shots at going further, and the team's always sick and they win in the transfer portal every single season. But of the realistic ones, I think it's Tang or Dusty May. Tang, doesn't feel like a Louisville coach to me. Like that would probably be my preference between the two, but for some reason I just don't see him there. Dusty May I could see there. I'm a little skeptical of Dusty May still. Obviously Florida Atlantic's really good, but like guy's coached 5 years. He's never won 20 games in a season before last year. And if I were Dusty May, I think I would leave as quickly as I could. I get they're going to be good and everybody comes back again, but God forbid they underwhelm this year. I think some of those offers for Dusty May might not be on the table 12 months from now.
Yeah.
So
pretty big year for them. He could really springboard himself if he has enough, if he like you just said, doubles down on what happened last year.
Yeah, but a lot of downside. I'm just saying. Okay, moving on. Jared Goff 16 says, did y'all see the top 10 list of schools who would win men's basketball national championship in 23-24? Schools such as Arizona, Houston, and Miami were on the list. Thoughts? I think I saw just like a graphic. I don't remember who made it. It might have been like one of the CBK report type things. And it was totally random. And it was just these 10 schools can win. And it was 10 of the best programs in the country. So I didn't put too much thought into it. Did either one of you see this list or have any thoughts on the list?
I think I saw it scrolling, but I don't remember who was really on the list. I don't know if there's 10 that can actually win. And I don't think a lot of those schools are. I think I do an article before every season listing the teams that I think have the capability, if everything goes right, to win. And typically that list is around 5 to 8 teams. And I think anything more than that, you're kind of stretching.
Okay. Yeah, I did scroll past and see the list just because I was like, the better in me came out. I was like, where's some value that I could bet on, like a team who's in like that 8th range. I think the worst value, honestly, is Duke. I still believe that. Like, I just think there's so many things that gotta go right with Duke, and there's talent, but like Flip isn't even practicing. And for you guys, you obviously know when players have hip injuries, that's not something that you just bounce back from automatically. Like, I'm hoping he does, and I bet he does, because I think he got surgery quick enough and had enough time to recover. But like a hip injury is no like sprained ankle or anything like that. You gotta get yourself back, and it's gonna take some time to get back. So I was surprised to see that. Or Greg was probably surprised about this too. Purdue was behind MSU. I know that probably eats at you in the middle of the night, but yeah.
Was it in order? I thought it was just these 10 could win. I didn't realize it was like.
The one I saw, it was in order.
Oh, then yeah, I don't think that's one I saw, but yeah, I would lose sleep if people are ranking Michigan State ahead of Purdue right now. That's fair. That I like Brian's point though. I don't think there's 10. I think that's interesting because last year, by the end of the year, it was like there's 32 teams that could win a national championship. Hopefully this year it consolidates a little bit and the cooked product becomes an uncooked product. Fam says audibly LMAO at Cart saying MSU was overrated of the two options. That's just King Petty living up to his rep.
I mean, it is, because you knew for a fact that I would have to say it. If there's 2 Big Ten teams in the top 25, I would have to say MSU.
Yeah, that was a nice moment from you. Ulamog went through and clipped the segments again. Shout out to Ulamog. And then Marcus DET underneath Ulamog's listing says, thanks. I couldn't care less about the comments portion. I'm sorry you feel that way, Marcus, but thank you for making a highlight in our comments portion today. Stephen Pearsall says, does Michigan State have any cause for concern in keeping their players happy in the same way that you discuss Illinois, specifically at the point guard and center positions? Are you worried about keeping dudes happy this year, Cart?
Not the center position. I don't care about any of those guys' happiness. At the guard position, though, I do have that thought in my head. Obviously, we're not going to harp on it like we did last year, but there was rumblings that Jay Nakis might not be as happy with his role because he doesn't get the ball as much. With kind of in the 3-guard lineup, he was, the 3rd guard in that lineup in the pecking order, kind of. But hopefully there is discussions with guys like Jeremy Fears that like, we're going to get you your minutes where we can this year, but this is your team in the future. And like, hopefully in this day and age, obviously that might not be enough to keep guys, but it's definitely something in the back of my mind that I would keep an eye on, because I think Jeremy Fears is a really good talent. And there's a lot of schools, good schools, that I think he could start for and play a lot for. It's just with the depth of this Michigan State team and the guys we got back, it's going to be tough to find him major minutes.
Yeah, I'm sure that fast forward 12 months from now, they will promise Jeremy Fears that it's his team. He'll be very excited about it. And then AJ Hogard will return for his 5th year, and Jaden Akins will return for his 4th year. And we'll repeat this process where everyone is really happy to split minutes in the Michigan State backcourt, because who doesn't want to split minutes for Tom Izzo teams that keep losing 13 games a season? Got to respect it, Cart. Let's move on. Isaac Steer says, why are we saying Indiana aren't playing modern position basketball while also saying Mbako has to play the 4 to succeed? Isn't that counterintuitive? Like, if Mbako was playing the 4, that would be modern basketball. We don't think it's modern basketball because he's playing the 3, because he's a power forward in our minds. Right, Brian?
Yes. I can't wait to see Indiana this year, because either things are going to go fine. I don't know if I don't think things are going to go great. I think things are going to go fine and they'll be okay, or they'll be a complete and total dumpster fire. And it's going to be fun to watch either way, largely because I don't know how all these pieces fit on paper with the way Mike Woodson looks at basketball.
Who's the best big from those 3? If we're calling Mbako big, Mbako, Kel'el Ware, and Malik Reneau, pick one. I want both of your answers to this.
Who should be the best, or who actually is the best?
Who is the best? I bet we have 3 different answers to this question.
Probably Reneau.
My point. Okay, you're going Reneau. Cart,
Yeah.
Who are you going?
I'm going Reneau too.
Oh, yeah. Damn. I'm going Kel'el Ware. I thought you would pick Mbako, Cart. That's a misread on me. But
I thought about it. I mean, we talked about it the other day. I'm high on Mbako. I really am. And that comment kind of throws me off a little bit. I feel like the modern way would be Mbako at the 4, and then one of those 2 guys at the 5. And I don't think Indiana fans realize low-key how in I would be on Indiana if that was how it worked. Like, I would love that. And I don't know who would be at the 3, whether they got a 3 or something like that in the portal. But, like, I'm in on that team. Mbako's not going to be able to show his game. Like, I think he should be able to play in the 3.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things where, like, objectively good that Indiana got all 3 of those guys on this roster because they're all good players with promise, but objectively bad that they all need to play together in the theoretical best 5-person lineup. Fam says, question from my boy Bluffs, a.k.a. Big Breezy, a.k.a. Riley Davis. I know Greg and Cart have ties to MSU players, and that program also have high passion for the game. Is your background similar from your time in Chapel Hill, or what makes you so passionate covering the sport? Brian, would you like to answer this question either for yourself or for Riley? Either way?
Yeah, I'll answer Riley. No, I mean, going to Chapel Hill, I assume. But I grew up here in Raleigh, and there isn't really anything else here. Like, we're right smack in the middle of Duke and UNC and NC State. When you're in school, they roll TVs into the classroom when it's the ACC tournament, roll TVs in the classroom when it's the NCAA tournament. Like, things mattered here in a way that I assume they mattered everywhere else. And then I went to college at South Carolina, and basketball was like a 2-month bridge between football and baseball. And it really kind of blew my mind. So just growing up here, basketball is ingrained in everything that is done around here. And I love it.
Brian, you're really aging us with they rolled TVs in.
They did.
Comment. I know what that is, but there's definitely someone watching this talking about, why would they roll a TV, and aren't there TVs in the classroom? Like, isn't there a board?
The big fat TVs strapped onto a little cart, and they literally would roll it into the gym. So we would like have it against the wall while we were like having gym class.
That's special.
That is special. Thank you to Fam for the question. Next time that Bluffs is back on the show, we'll be sure to circle back. Aiden Tree says the last successful freshman big as skinny as Booker is Jaren Jackson? ? JJJ's high school 247 profile had him at 225, and Booker is at 205. That puts Booker closer to Cormac's weight than Jaren's. Is that comment scary at all, Cart?
I mean, Booker's skinny as hell. I mean, it is. I think we were just trying to think of the last Michigan State freshman. I mean, Jaren was skinny. He was. And I don't even know if Jaren was 225. I would question that. Shit, I might even question if Xavier Booker was 205, to be honest with you. I was just going more so off eye test. Jaron was a skinnier freshman for sure. I think that's fair to say. But, the comment, the 24/7 profile says what it says, but I'm just going off what I saw with my eyes. He was a skinny freshman.
We've talked about it too, but the Big Ten, other than Edey, who is the best player in the country, that's tough, and Purdue is MSU's biggest competition for banners. I get it. Outside of Edey, there are not nearly as many low post threats this year than there have been the last 6 years in the Big Ten. So I think you can get away playing a 205-pound center in a way that you probably couldn't have the last few years when there was a Luka Garza or a Kofi Coburn or a Hunter Dickinson patrolling the paint. Now it's just Zach Edey and not much else. Clayton says, so do you think Dickie V is right? Only 2 ranked Big Ten teams in the top 25. Let's go outside of the Big Ten to our non-Big Ten guy, Brian, for his answer on this question. Should there be more Big Ten teams ranked in the top 25?
No. I don't think so. More will find their way in, and I think more will prove their way in. I think Purdue and Michigan State are the only 2 that will consistently stay in throughout the season. So you could go through the list, and I think each team has obviously the potential to. But right now, with just some of the question marks, I feel comfortable and solid and have a strong belief in just 2.
Cart, you're making faces.
I want to ask a counter question to this. It's end of the season, top 25. Who has more teams in the top 25, the Big Ten or the SEC?
Probably the Big Ten, because late February is the time when the Big Ten is the greatest thing in the world, and then 2 weeks later, it's not.
I didn't ask about 2 weeks later. All right, there you go. There you go, adding things. Just want to know.
Yeah, that hurts. It's so accurate. It stings.
It is.
I'm going to give my quick answer. I think there should be 3 in the top 25, and I'm officially going to put my cape on. I've danced around it for a week and a half now, Car. I'm ready to do it. Maryland's a top 25 team. I'm not making the argument for anybody else. I'm not making the argument for Illinois, blah, 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 whoever. This Maryland team's sick. They have a really good backcourt. Jameer Young is going to be awesome. Deshaun Harris-Smith might be a one and done. He's going to be the freshman of the year in this conference. Jamie Kaiser looks incredible in their overseas stuff, and they bring their front court back. Again, a front court that had 2 guys that averaged double digits and is really solid and are now 2 big veteran guys. So I don't get why people are not acting like they're a good team. Like, I think they performed like a good team last year. They made the round of 32. They were a fringe top 25 team all season long. They brought everybody but Hakeem Hart back and added significantly more freshman talent. That's a top 25 team on paper.
Who's their coach?
I almost said Mark Turgeon. I missed Turge. It's Kevin Willard. It's Kevin Willard.
Okay.
Hey, Kevin Willard drinks 11 cups of coffee a day. I know that from After Dark last year. So I'm in on that. Steve Dunn says, F it Friday. Why is college basketball officiating worse than Ja Morant's decision-making? Officiating's hard.
It's not that hard. They just need to do their job. It's not that. It really isn't that hard. It's not. They just want to make it all about them. I hate stripes.
You hate stripes. Brian, what are your thoughts?
I don't think it is. I think that's underselling Ja Morant's decision-making. And it's bad. College basketball officiating is bad, but you watch some other sports and it's significantly worse than some other sports. I think it's just an officiating problem across the board in sports because it's no fun to be an official.
No, can confirm from when I was reffing 4th grade intramural girls basketball a couple summers ago. Not fun. Moving on. Blake Brockman, my question for you all is about Big Ten talent. Who, in your opinion, has the most NBA talent in the Big Ten? Cart, any thoughts?
Most NBA talent in the Big Ten.
Nobody? Yeah.
It'd probably be either Michigan State or Indiana, probably.
I think it's Indiana. Where's going to get drafted? Mbako's going to get drafted. I don't think you can go through Michigan State and guarantee there's 2 guys that will get drafted.
Do you think we can guarantee Mbako's? Yeah, we can probably guarantee he's drafted. But you could probably guarantee that Xavier Booker will be drafted just because of where he was in high school. Someone will draft him within the first 60 picks for sure.
But he's the only one. That's why I give the edge to Indiana. Like, are we calling Jaden Akins a draft pick? Are we calling AJ Hogarth a draft pick?
This is why I didn't want to mention MSU, because you go right to those guys. And we don't have other guys that could playing the NBA. But you're right.
I mean,
like no matter what happens, there's going to be a team that's going to draft Ware, and there's going to be a team that drafts Mbako. No matter what they do, just based off of pure potential, someone will pick them at 52 if they have to.
I'm not trying to be harsh, but who's the second? Like, Cohen Carr has to be the second guy on paper. Jeremy Fears is like 6 feet tall.
Is he?
Isn't he? Like he projects as like a 4-year star, not a one and done NBA guy.
Never said one and done, but he definitely ain't a 4-year guy.
It's going to take him 3 years just to get the ball in his hands, given how many guards keep coming back from Michigan State. So I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying, it's Indiana. Tristan Freeman, the man who refuses to come on the show so rudely, says, none of my business at all, but how is the guy who sleepers has got hashtag Riley Fridays isn't part of Discord? Freeman Fridays has a better ring to it. I don't get why he's trolling when he refuses to come on the show. But yeah, Riley clearly needs to join the Discord. We've made that clear. Snap-on29 says the funniest part about this whole video is Greg Waddell constantly continuing to contradict himself. He gave Illinois a D grade for not getting Ray J. Dennis and then says that he doesn't love Ray J. Dennis. Wow, ... Just wow. Cart, can I have your permission to have 45 seconds?
Yeah, but before you do, can I make it known that he put this comment on the same exact comment, copy and pasted it onto another video from yesterday. So like he really wanted to make this one known. So please take your time.
Thank you. First of all, there's a couple people fighting my battles for me in the comments to snap on. I appreciate that. Second of all, I did see he left it on about 3 different videos. Shout out to Snap-on29. Appreciate your intense care for this question. Here's the truth. I've said it before. I will say it again. Illinois gets a D grade because they did not do what they tried to do. That doesn't mean I liked what they were trying to do. I was clear at the time. Ray J. Dennis is not a great point guard for what Illinois needed. He's still an upgrade over no one, which is what Illinois ended up with because they spent all their offseason saying we need a point guard, waiting for Tiger Campbell to hit the portal, then going all in on Ray J. Dennis just to lose him to Scott Drew. When you try to do something and you fail, that's when I kill your offseason. Did the same with Michigan. I did the same with plenty of other teams in the country that failed at whatever their number one objective was. I didn't agree with the objective, but it was their objective, and they failed. I've always said I don't love Ray J. Dennis, which is why I'm not high on Baylor. If Ray J. Dennis is your best player, I think your team is in trouble. It all makes sense, Snap-on. It's not hypocritical, but your listening comprehension skills might need a little work, my friend. Appreciate the comment. Let's move on. That boy from Illinois says, sleepers only fans when?
Never.
You're not going to sell your feet pics?
Oh, I already do sell feet pics, but I'm not doing OnlyFans.
We got to just fly by this. Lucas F. says, Greg, you're a cutie, but you look like Peter Pan in that shirt. Thank you so much, Lucas. And final comment of the day, Michael Skepkowski says, that's because he went to Indiana and you guys are hating on him now. That's because you guys hate Indiana. That's about Mbako, right?
I think so. I can't get over the Peter Pan comment. It's so on par, too.
Yeah, it was a good one. We don't hate anybody, though. Can we like say that forever and have people actually appreciate it? We don't hate anybody.
Well, I don't hate any college basketball teams. There's definitely a list of people I hate. I don't think any of those people are in college basketball anymore. It used to be Bo Borowski, but he retired. But yeah, outside of basketball, I don't. There's no one in college basketball I hate.
Could I get a few quick hits from you on who is on your hate list?
Eric Ebron is on there. He's number 1. Trump's on there. A couple other people. I don't want to get political about it, but yeah.
I don't want to get political, but just massively political.
Because I made a January 6th joke on one of our first episodes, and there were some very mean comments in my DMs.
Okay, yeah. Why don't we wrap up the comments for today right there? Appreciate the comment section. Reminder, 6 days from now, we're cutting this off. You can still comment on the YouTube, and we encourage that, but we won't be reading them all. We will be reading all the comments from the Discord. You can join the Discord at the link in this description. Brian Rauf, it is officially your show. 3 topics. We don't know what these are. I'm handing you the ball. We're getting out of the way, my friend. Take us wherever you want to take us.
We're going to start with one of my favorite things to do every season, and it's almost a call your shot thing, where you try and find a team who people aren't as high on and be high on them. I'll point to my San Diego State pick last year that I tried to convince everybody to get on board with, and I still think I was trying to convince you to while we were watching them play in the national championship game. But anyway, so I want to know a team that is not getting a lot of love in the preseason that you are probably irrationally high on, or a team that is getting a lot of love that you do not understand why they are getting as much love as they are. I will start with TCU. For me, I don't think there's going to be much of a drop-off with them this year. I know they lose Mike Miles and A. Lampkin, guys who were the faces for that program, doing things that program has not done in a very, very long time. But the way they playing as up tempo as they try to offensively, getting out on the break, the defense that they play fits to the guys they brought in the portal. Avery Anderson from Oklahoma State and Jameer Nelson Jr. from Delaware are both guys that thrive creating their own shot, getting it on transition, using their athleticism. I don't think there's going to be a drop-off in the backcourt, even if you lose a guy as talented as Miles is. They've struggled shooting the ball. That's still probably going to be an issue for them. Trevion Tennyson, coming in from Corpus Christi, this is one of the perks of doing the Almanac, is a knockdown shooter. Like, is somebody who is going to help significantly in that role. I don't think that TCU is a team that's going to make a Final Four run or anything like that, but I also expect them to be a consistent top 25, top 20 team that has second weekend potential.
I like that call out.
Like
All right, you go first here.
You want me to go first?
I want you to go first.
Okay, I think a team that I'm higher on, and I'm pretty sure they're going to be ranked top 25 to start the season, but I just don't think they're being talked about enough. And I'm actually going to stay in the Big 12 with this pick, and it's Texas for me. I mean, I love the backcourt combination of Hunter and Asmus. As Greg mentioned the other day, I like that, that tandem way more than Carr and Hunter. So obviously they add him. He's the big fish. As far as where I stand, I'm on the Caden Shedrick bandwagon. I know a couple people haven't got there completely yet. And look, I understand how things went at Virginia and it didn't go extremely well. He wasn't playing much. And it's a stretch, I think, to assume that with more minutes and more time, he'll do the same thing. He'll do better at Texas. But there is a world where, Tony Bennett could be right. There's a reason why Caden Shedrick wasn't on the floor. But I am of the mind that he won't do that and he'll play a lot better at Texas. And then, them getting Dylan Mitchell back, I expect Dylan Mitchell to have a really, really good sophomore year. He has all the physical tools, obviously, all the tools athletically. And, from everything I've heard from people who've actually been around that program and in that program, he's an extremely hard worker. So I bank on his game developing as far as him being a better jump shooter and things like that. But I just think he'll have a higher usage and ability to show his talents. So I really like this Texas team. I think they're going to be really good this year. And, I might be one of the few that believe in Rodney Terry as the one that can do the job for Texas.
I like your Dylan Mitchell call out, just for the record. I think if we were doing this, but for players instead of teams, Dylan Mitchell might be 1A on my list. I feel like people aren't talking about him just because of what the raw production was last year, but freshman to sophomore, prestigious sophomores that come back, I think are maybe the most valuable thing in the sport of college basketball these days, other than a 25-year-old dude who's just too good for college, but not good enough for the NBA. But for that reason, my pick is a team that is going to be built entirely off of guys that are going to make the freshman to sophomore jump. And I'm sticking in Big Ten land. I'm going with the Ohio State Buckeyes. This team is not being talked about anywhere, as far as I know. I don't think anyone's giving them consideration as a top 25 group. That's probably fair based on how bad last season was. This team, to me, is going to be significantly better at every single position, primarily the big three sophomores that are back. Bruce Thornton, I think, is an all Big Ten point guard this year. For the last 8 games of last season, we saw it in person at the Big Ten tournament. He was playing like the best guard in the Big Ten. He figured it out, and he was scoring at will, getting to the rim, hitting some mid-range stuff. I buy him as a 14, 15 a game guy this year. Roddy Gale had a game where he just went for 30 in the Big Ten tournament. I don't know if that looks like a more consistent every game thing, but I like his talent level, and I think he's ready for a bigger role than he played last year. And Okpara there's a big group of sophomore bigs in the Big Ten, and Akpara to me is the one I trust the most. Like I like him more than Malik Reneau. I like him more than Terrace Reed. I think he projects as a really great shot blocker who's not a guy you need to center your offense around, but can catch lobs, can finish. And no offense to Zed Key, but the more Felix Akpara takes his role, the more I'm buying this Ohio State team. So you mix in the 11th best recruiting class in the country, which I think is low for this class. Scotty Middleton's a one and done to me. Tyson Chapman is like prestigious guy, kind of stagnated in the rankings a little bit, but between those two, with the way Holtman's freshmen typically look, you can bank on at least one of those two being like a 14, 15 a game scorer on the wing. Devin Royal's another guy I think can play. And no one's talking about Jamison Battle except for you, Cart. You talked about him yesterday, but Jamison Battle was an all Big Ten guy 12 months ago. Minnesota was Minnesota. Everybody forgot about him. And now all of a sudden he's at Ohio State, where if you put him on last year's team, I think he's probably their second best player behind Sensabaugh. And you know how I feel about Sensabaugh, Cart. I think there's a pretty big addition by subtraction of just getting a player that lazy and that selfish out of the locker room.
Relax.
So I'm buying the Buckeyes in a big way. Brian, I want to flip it back to you. Which one of our two picks do you like more?
I like the Ohio State pick because I think they're going to go back to being respectable. Like I think last year was certainly a blip on the radar in that sense, but I think Texas will be better this year. I still have questions about Rodney Terry long-term, but he put together a roster that I like and certainly has more talented pieces, more experienced pieces. I kind of talked about with Indiana earlier. I think there's a real chance that Texas goes up in flames this year, but I also think there's a real chance they compete for the Big 12. Like the ceiling is there, and there's just so many unknowns with them. It's going to be interesting, but they have the talent to do anything they want to do.
Yeah, that's such a fun backcourt.
Score one for me, Greg. Suck it.
Oh, all right, long show. Let's move on to the next topic. What do we got?
Next topic. Conference realignment. Been everywhere. It's all football driven and it all sucks. However, what is one team on the basketball court that is going to be the most successful in their new league the quickest? Can be USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington in the Big Ten. It can be one of the Big 12's new teams this year, whether Houston does well in the Big 12, or you think they're going to struggle. UCF, BYU, Cincinnati going to the Big 12. Texas and Oklahoma making the move to the SEC. I know some of these are happening at different times, but we're going to lump it all into one. Which of these programs that has made big moves do you think will be the most successful, the quickest in their new league?
Why am I kind of tempted to take one of the 4 leftover Pac-4 teams? Like somebody can dominate that little squad, right? I don't know who it is. No,
well, that's the thing too. But like, where does Oregon State finish in the Mountain West? Like, are they a middle of the road Mountain West team? Right? Like those 4 that are left don't have like great basketball teams.
Yeah, it's so true. So my initial reaction to this was going to be one of the 2 West Coast, or I guess one of the 4 West Coast, quote unquote, Big Ten schools. Like, to me, you drop UCLA and what they are as a basketball program into the Big Ten. They probably are great. Like, they're probably the best program in the Big Ten pretty clearly, pretty quickly. I think we saw this a little bit too in Big Ten play. Like, I think this goes for every conference, but especially the Big Ten. There is such a style of play that every team in the league has adopted and gotten used to and tried to counteract with each other that has set them up for failure in March and has opened the door for when new teams and new coaches come into the league. There's an opportunity for new coaches just because they are different to almost overachieve and fight against the grain. We saw that with Kevin Willard last year. Like, Maryland was better than they should have been in the Big Ten last season, in my opinion, just because Kevin Willard was throwing new stuff at all these Big Ten coaches who weren't prepared for it and had never seen it before. I feel like UCLA and all the schools from the West Coast could get a bump there, but I think UCLA should be pretty sustainable. With that said, I think my answer is Texas in the SEC. I think when Texas gets to the SEC, there's an opportunity for them to do something they haven't been able to do in the Big 12 just because Kansas is there every year. Like, there is no Kansas in the SEC. No offense to Alabama or to Bruce Pearl or Rick Barnes. Like, but that's wide open, door wide open. And to me, Texas probably recruits better as a basketball program than any of the SEC schools. Muss aside, but who knows how long Muss will be Arkansas's coach. So give me Texas. A lot of Texas on this show in answers to Brian, but I'm buying the Longhorns in the SEC.
I really like that pick, by the way, G, just so you know. So when I thought about this, I originally kind of came from the same mindset as you. I was like, UCLA could be that team where I take Shrews, for example, with Penn State. Not necessarily, they're not as talented as a UCLA team would be, but Shrews kind of brought in a new style of basketball that Big Ten teams weren't used to. And it actually caught them off guard, and they were able to be successful. And that's literally how they won games, because yes, they did have talent, I guess, you know, if you want to go with the guys like Jalen Pickett, who was obviously extremely talented, but Seth Lundy, but like he was rolling out that lineup with guys like Funk and like getting it done and having Big Ten teams on their toes. But I think I'll go with Houston in this regard, just because it's just me buying Houston's culture and Sampson. Like, I think that Sampson, Houston, you know, Greg, you know, I can't go too long without talking about Houston and Sampson, but I feel like that team could go anywhere and win a basketball game. That's just how I feel about it. And I feel like their style of basketball, it fits in the Big 12 to me. I think they'll be able to battle in that conference. They'll be able to recruit, you know, in that area, obviously, and go against anybody. So I think I'd bet my money on Houston being, you know, a pretty successful in that matter. And that just goes along with kind of my mantra of how I approach college basketball. Like, if there's an opportunity to bet on Houston or to put my eggs in a Houston basket or a Kelvin Sampson basket, I'm going to do it. It's a safe bet.
If we could lock in that those coaches are all still coaching 5 years from now, like if we have Scott Drew, Bill Self, Kelvin Sampson, and I'll even throw Jerome Tang in there, if those four guys all were locked in at their school 4 years from now, the next 4 years are going to be such a gauntlet, man. Like, that's an absurd amount of just talented programs and coaches.
I'm interested too with Houston to see how the dynamic changes, right? Because part of the way they've been successful in the American has been hitting on transfers, Quentin Grimes being the most notable, and getting guys who maybe were a little bit under recruited and had a chip on their shoulder coming to play there. You're not going to have, you can obviously still recruit those players, but you're going to have a little bit more of a shine to you in the Big 12, which should help them. At the same time, right now you're competing directly with Kansas for recruits and competing directly with some of the bigger Big 12 programs. And the challenge for Houston is maintaining where you are in that pecking order in, I know you guys are Big Ten guys, but in the best league in the country, in the Big 12, and maintaining your spot up there. If they can do that, that's the answer. And I think the first year, this coming year, they'll be in there. I think they'll be more successful than any other first team in their first year in the new league. But I was also going to answer Texas in the SEC. So moving forward, who knows what Kentucky looks like, whether it's with or without John Calipari, right? Because there are all those questions there. Alabama has been the team to beat in the SEC the last couple of years, but they haven't had the postseason success to go with it that matches it. Who knows how long Muss is going to be at Arkansas? And also, you start bringing in Texas and teams that, and Oklahoma teams that are in the western, well, the very west part of the SEC. Teams like Arkansas benefited from that and being the closer destination in that area. Right now, suddenly Texas comes in with more resources than you, same area, potentially offering more playing time if you're not going to be part of a 10-person transfer class at Arkansas. I think they're set up if things are clicking the right way. And I think this year, it's another reason this year is very important for Rodney Terry. If things are clicking the right way, they can go into the SEC and immediately be a top 2 or top 3 team and maintain that much easier than Houston could maintain being a top 2 or 3 team in the Big 12, simply because of the landscape around them, along with just the freaking resources that Texas has.
Yeah. As you were going through the coaches in the SEC too, like, I'm just going to, like, Karma's going to get Nate Oates at some point. I just want to say that. And speaking of Karma, Rodney Terry, I'm rooting for him, as Card is, as we all are. I don't think he's nearly as bad as some of the Rodney Terry skeptics are acting like he is. Case in point, how the season ended last year. Like, I think he did a fantastic job. With that said, if that flames out, like if that doesn't work out and Texas is in the SEC, Over under 4.5 years until Chris Beard is back coaching at Texas.
I would say over. I don't think Beard will be back at Texas. I think Beard will get another like elite job. Honestly, might be Louisville. But I don't know if he'd go back to Texas.
I like that too. Yeah, I mean, messy divorce between Chris Beard and Texas, but luckily Chris Beard is familiar with messy divorces.
There's absolutely there's absolutely no chance they would well, I don't want to say that because Texas is a very prestigious program. I feel like they would be like at the bottom cellar before they put their pride aside and things aside to take him back. There's zero chance.
Oh, I was interpreting. Go ahead, Brian.
I think there's a better chance of him ending back at Texas Tech than there is him ending back at Texas.
See, I feel like Texas Tech would hire him back today. And then if he gets 2 good years at Texas Tech, Texas would take him back from Texas Tech. Like that's the cycle for me.
Texas Tech needs a cleanse. They need cast in there. They need just someone just to hold it together for a year. Someone to be a good person for a year, and then we'll figure out the coaching thing.
Where is Riley Davis when we need a cleanse? Okay, we need our spiritual guider, man. Brian, what's the final topic today?
Final topic. I told you I had a bullshit topic. This is the bullshit topic. So I have 2 children. Greg has a daughter. I heard this question on Old Man the 3, JJ Redick's podcast. They asked him what he would do if his kid went to UNC. Would you rather your child become an icon for your rival school, where it's like, you know, Greg, let's say your daughter becomes the Caitlin Clark of Michigan State. Would you rather that happen, or knowing that your favorite school will never win anything of significance ever again?
Oh man. So an easy answer for me, but it's because I'm a mutant. Like my brain doesn't work the way fan brains are supposed to. I would much rather my daughter go to Michigan State. In fact, with this hypothetical, even if all the like Caitlin Clark stuff was aside, if she wasn't even a basketball player, if I could choose where my daughter goes to school between Michigan, the school I root for, and Michigan State, the school I went to, I would want my daughter to go to Michigan State. Like, that's the decision I made. I loved it there. I have nothing negative to say about my time at Michigan State, and I have a lot negative about, from what I've heard, the experience is like going to Michigan. So, but I'm a mutant. Like I said, my brain doesn't work the way it's supposed to. So this was a fantastic question. I just am in no place to give a good answer. I want Cart's answer, though.
Yeah, this is a fantastic question for me. On the contrary, so the second option, like, so my daughter or my son doesn't go to Michigan and becomes an icon. What's the other option?
The other option is Michigan State never wins anything of importance ever again.
You know, I feel like this would be a lot easier if I actually had the fatherly connection and had a child. Like, I would actually feel this a little bit more. But I think I'd want them to go be an icon at Michigan. I think that would be my answer pretty easily. Now, with that said, my level of support for that would be very minimal. I'm not going to games. I don't want to go to Ann Arbor.
That's absurd, man. Come on.
They're an icon, so I don't got to sign any checks or anything. Everything at school's free. I'll move them in. I will exit. I don't like Ann Arbor. No one likes it. No one actually likes Ann Arbor. The city of Ann Arbor stinks. It does.
No comment on that, but like, I feel all you're doing is adding a chip to your daughter or son's shoulder here. Like, oh, my dad never came to my games. My dad was a horrible father.
That's a chip that needed. I have long had a theory that I ended up at Albion at Division III because my father was too supportive. Like, I knew at every single game in high school, I looked up and he was there.
You need something to drive them.
Him for it.
You need something to drive them to become that icon. They need to earn their father's love.
Right. I couldn't get a chip on my shoulder. Like, whether I missed a layup or not, like, my dad was going to give me a hug after the game. I don't want that.
Blaming your father for being a great loving dad as the reason why you didn't reach your full potential is so wild.
I mean, it's facts.
I will say, so I am a South Carolina alum. We don't win anything of significance anyway. So I would take that rather than seeing like my son suit up and play quarterback for Clemson and like lead them to 2 national championships. That's a no for me.
But think about
South not win anything anyway.
Think about how much more fun your son's life would be, though. Like, because is the alternative? He just lives a normal life versus like a superstar quarterback.
Yeah, but Clemson, you're like living in fields with farmers, and
But you could actually win something though. Like, how fun was that Final Four run for South Carolina?
Well, see, that's the thing. It was a lot of fun, but then it didn't win anything significant. You could do that again. I would rather him be point guard for South Carolina and make the second round of the tournament than be TO, except TO leading Clemson to a national championship. I would much rather.
That's crazy. That's crazy. You're wishing Michie Johnson career path onto your son. That's wild.
I think a big part of the actual decision of this hypothetical would be if you choose the side where your team doesn't win, do you know ahead of time that your team's not going to win? Because that would sap all the fun out of watching the sport, right? Like if you don't have the hope that your team can win, you lose interest in the whole thing.
That's a great point. We'll say no, you don't know that.
If you don't know that, I think it's easier to make that decision because then you still have the hope. You just don't know your heart's going to get ripped out and you died 80 years from now realizing, oh, well, we gave it our best shot. Like, that's fine.
Which is probably going to happen for most of us anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just life.
Yeah.
Exactly. Who do you think, the obvious answer between our three teams is Michigan State is going to win a title first, but Cart, between South Carolina or Michigan, who will win a basketball national championship first?
South Carolina. Okay. Just because the situation at Michigan is dire in this age. It really is. Like, does South Carolina like at least have like some NIL and things like that and like support?
Not for basketball.
Lamont Paris have a bunch of support.
We have an 18,000 person arena for the women's team. Men just play there.
I don't know. Greg, wouldn't you say South Carolina?
I don't know, man. I feel like both.
I would say Michigan. You
would?
Yeah.
It's hard to see that in the Juwan Howard NIL era, but there's probably an era after that could make it happen. I don't know, man. It's sad being so far away, which is why you should pick your daughter or son to go be a star. We're never going to win anything anyway. Let's take the fun route, right?
Yeah, be happy through your child.
But now that's what you said. Then we're loving our child, Cart. We're not supposed to love our child if we want to drive our child to be great.
See, they can be a good player for your school and still have a professional career. They just won't be, this icon winning championships and, being the main story on SportsCenter.
That makes sense. Also, Brian, who do we have in the background? Who is this superstar that just emerged on the bed behind you?
Yeah, that's my dog, Coco. She's 12 pounds and thinks everything revolves around her.
Round of applause for Coco.
I'm kind of upset that it doesn't have like a South Carolina name. Like, couldn't you name it like wow? Couldn't you name it like Marshawn Lattimore? Like an old
Marcus Lattimore.
Yeah. Oh boy.
So her name was supposed to be. This is kind of dumb. I'm kind of glad we didn't name her this, but her name was supposed to be Cola, which is like the shortened version of Columbia that everybody in Columbia calls it. My wife went to pick her up and she left with, we're going to call her Cola. And then she comes through the door and she's like, oh, here's Coco.
And from that day forward.
And it just, couldn't stop because it had already happened.
Just stuck forever. Incredible.
Yeah.
All right, let's end the show with our one big thing presented by Bigby, our favorite coffee. Cart, what's your favorite order from Bigby?
Iced teddy bear. It's like I think they put caramel and then like honey butter or something in it. I don't know, but it's fire. Not necessarily good for you, but it's amazing. Highly recommend it. Coincidentally,
Also what the Albion coaching staff called you for 4 years, iced teddy bear. Cart, what's your one big thing today?
Well, it's pretty fitting coming off that comment of, hey, this is my one big thing. You know the phrase, like, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy?
Yeah.
That's the worst phrase of all time. I truly want to say that. I don't think that phrase should be used because obviously you need to work on your list of enemies. I wake up every single day and I hope my enemies go through hell, and I would wish that upon them. That's why they're my worst enemy. So I think you need to retire the phrase, I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy, because I would. And if you're a true hater like me, you would wake up and hope that your enemy has an awful Friday. I woke up this morning, brushed my teeth, assessed my enemies, wish them a bad day, wish they hit every red light, wish they get in a hit and run accident. I wish that happened. That's how I live my life. So I want to retire the phrase, I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy, because you should be.
I love this energy, Cart. Thank you for that. We appreciate that. On that note, Cart, I think I'm going to use my one big thing to read some words from someone who I think is one of your enemies. These are texts that Carter and I both received in a group chat from Rob Doster exactly 54 minutes ago. Carter, I've tried to be nice. I didn't want to say this, but I've been pushed too far. Your head is too small for your body. You look like the alien that got zapped by Will Smith in Men in Black. And 6'8", 275-pound dudes shouldn't be walking around with size 11 feet. It's concerning. You should get that checked out. That's all for my one big thing.
I mean, my head is definitely way too small for my body. That's fact. Also, my ears are too small. Like, just for like my head, just letting that be known. I'm 6'7", first of all. I'm 265, and I wear a size 14 shoe. I know that's not a massive shoe, but it's a size 14 shoe. And to Rob Doster, you should really watch your tone, just because, you know, I mean, you drink one cup of athletic greens and you think you're just some big bad guy and do one Peloton ride. Like, let's relax. You're still shaped like Abby Wambach, all right? Let's not do that.
Brian, what's your one big thing today?
I think conference realignment is good, and it's a good thing for college basketball.
Wow.
As long as the NCAA tournament remains the same, it's a good thing. The biggest complaint people have is that mid-majors don't get enough attention and love or at-large bids. If you're consolidating all these top conferences, one, we're going to get better in-conference matchups during the regular season, more entertaining ones. Two, that means there's going to be a larger pool of disappointing power conference teams, just by and large, right? Big Ten, let's say, you know, they may go from 8 bids to 10 bids, or 8 bids to 9 bids, or whoever. I think the net from that, though, is you're going to have more mid-major teams getting in, because the power conference teams are going to have more meh resumes. So I think by product of this, we're going to have better regular seasons for college basketball, at least in terms of conference games in January, February. And I theorize the end result might be a couple, but would be more at-large bids for some of the better mid-major programs that end up losing one game in the conference tournament.
I like that angle. I never really thought about it like that.
You've been anti-realignment for weeks, Cart.
Yeah,
it sucks because the regionality of everything is brutal, and football runs everything. But I think the byproduct is that it could make things a little bit more fun.
Yeah, I just think it's fun. I don't like to laugh at the little guys, but I'm about to do that right now. It's like, it's the rivalries that are like breaking, like, oh, I'm not going to have this rivalry anymore. Like, no one cared about this rivalry, honestly. Like, you cared about it, and the right. 200 people around you cared about it, but no one else actually cares about it. So, like, you'll get over it. It'll be okay. Change is good sometimes.
Do you really
also have some state government step in and require teams play in the non-conference? Like, nice. You have non-conference games for a reason. Still play those freaking games.
Yeah, that would be nice. I think I'd be in if we get to that step. All my reservations go away at that point, because I agree with a lot of what you said. Also, Cart, don't you love to shit on the little guys? You just said you don't love to shit on the little guys. I feel like you love to shit on
because little people are mean.
Okay. I somehow, after Cart and I's two things, I feel like Brian still said the most controversial one big thing today, which makes me feel good. That's a nice note.
I had to leave a mark coming on the show. I had to leave an impression.
Yeah, you definitely did that, my friend. You definitely did that. This was a really fun show today. Thanks to everybody for listening. Thank you to Brian for being on the show. Brian, where can people find your work, my friend?
You can find my work mostly on Twitter at brauf33, BRAUF33, also on heatcheckcbb.com. That'll be a lot of things will be coming up on there in the next month or so. But more immediately, pre-order the almanac and buy the almanac, because that's where all of it's going right now. If you don't know what the almanac is, one, you're probably not a huge college basketball fan or have been living under a rock, because has been and will continue to be annoyingly all over your Twitter for the next month. It is the biggest, most comprehensive, most in-depth college basketball preview magazine, preview formula thing ever out there. It's 600,000 words in total, 1,300 words on every single team. We've talked to every single head coach in the country. We give the teams in the Southland just as much love as teams in the SEC, maybe SEC a little bit more, but you're not going to find that kind of analysis everywhere. It's taken a lot of time and a lot of hard work, but it's all very good. And I think if you're a college basketball fan, it's something you need to have.
Echo that completely. And very fun to have you on the show. Again, Briley Friday today, as Brian filled in for Riley Davis. If you haven't noticed, a little bit of a synergy here between Heat Check and Sleepers Media. Cart, eye emojis on that one?
I don't know. Subscribe to the Discord and find out.
Yeah, maybe we'll share some news in the Discord. Maybe. Brian, thanks so much for being here. Everybody have a great Friday, and Sleepers fans, we'll see you next week.